Hey YouTube, it's Marquita, and today is Veda day number 23, and I'm here to give you guys my coming out story. I realize that I've had this YouTube page for almost over a year now, and I have not done my coming out story, so it is overdue for me to give you guys the story of how I came out and came to be the out and proud lesbian that I am today. So I'll have to go backwards, way, way, way before I ever came out, and give you guys a little bit of backstory. I'm originally from Seattle. My parents actually met here, and because I'm a military brat, we moved to the South. And when my dad got out of the Army, that is where we lived in the South. My dad, I think, was originally Catholic, and my mom has always been either AME, which is African Methodist, I think Episcopal, I think that's what it stands for. Um, but when we moved to the South, we all converted to Baptist. And so we were Southern Baptist. And growing up, we were always in church. Wednesday or Sunday for church, and every other day of the week was usually some kind of church affiliated activity. Um, so when I was probably in middle school, I started becoming really rebellious. Right around like seventh or eighth grade, I was like not listening to what my parents had to say. I didn't want to follow the rules. I didn't want to go to church. I didn't really want to do anything that they were saying. So I started running away from home, hanging out with a bad crowd, and really just not making wise decisions with my life. The first time that I ever had any encounter with a woman or with a girl in general was in that same time frame. I used to make out with my female friends, and I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. I used to think everybody made out with their female friends. It wasn't until because my parents, the reason I said that is because my parents kept us in a very sheltered life. When you're Christians and have very, very conservative Christian values, as my parents say, um, they censor our television, they censor what we listen to on the radio, they censored our interactions with people. And my dad was very homophobic. So I knew who gay people were, but I didn't know what that really meant. I really thought when I thought gay, I thought of gay men because that's what my dad, he would, have something really slanderous to say about gay men if he would see them in the street. Um, but I never really knew like lesbians. I never knew anything in detail. So it would happen to be an incident where I ran away, and I was staying at a friend's house, and my mom had asked me if I like sleep in the same bed with these girls, and I was like, yeah. And she was like, for some reason, and I ask her still to this day, why did you give me this line of questioning? But she asked me if I kiss these girls or do anything else, and I was like, yeah, who doesn't make out with their friends? So I totally thought that everybody made out with their female friends at this age. I was completely oblivious. My mom liked to have knocked me on the floor, and I had to go to Christian counseling at my church, and basically to pray the gay away. And after that incident, I was like, I don't want, this is what being gay means. I want no parts of it. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with this at all. And I'm just going to be on the straight and narrow. So I cleaned up my life. I wasn't doing anything extreme. It was extreme to my parents because they're very, very conservative. They're very, very strict. So it was really extreme to them. I wasn't out doing like ridiculous things that the kids these days do. I was not doing that. I was like running away, being defiant, not going to school every day or stuff like that. So I was like, I need to get my life together. So I, got on the straight and narrow, never got in any more trouble. After that, I got I was in a long-term relationship with a guy that I met that same, like when I was in the seventh grade, and we dated. However, I took a vow of purity at church. So it was never that kind of situation. We were just in a relationship, and I had every intention of marrying him because I said, if I like kissing girls, but if this is what kissing girls means, then I'm not doing that. So fast forward to college, and I wasn't one of those people in college that experimented either. I was more concerned with like, I'm here to get my degree. I'm here to graduate with honors, and I don't have time to go out and party. I don't have time to be dating, and none of that stuff. And my ex was the same way. He was playing basketball, and then he got drafted to play basketball in Germany, and so we were never really in the same spot. It was this really like, we've been together since the 7th grade type thing, and comfortable, I guess is the best word for it. So then I joined the military and realized that I hated my life. I realized that I was living my life for everyone else but myself, and I was kind of over it. And that's where I met my first girlfriend. Um, and I didn't come out though. I met this girl, we fell in love, and we dated for 2 years, and we neither of us were out. She wasn't out because she was in the engineering field and really didn't want, it's already hard enough to be a female engineer, and then try to be a female lesbian engineer was too much for her. So she was never out. And so I had a beard or a cover the whole time. Not to mention I was in the military, so don't ask, don't tell. And I was in the Air Force, so the Air Force doesn't play. If you blink the wrong way, they will discharge you. So I had a cover boyfriend who lived in another state and was in the Army. So, and I did that for, like I said, we dated for 2 years, and then I got out of the military and moved to Florida, and things didn't work out with my ex that I was with. I was getting to a point in my life where I said, I want to be out to the world. So when I said that I'm not out, I wasn't out to anyone. I had my cover boyfriend, and the only people that knew that I was a lesbian was me and my girlfriend at the time. And then of course, like, my cover boyfriend. So these 3 people in the world knew that I was a lesbian. And when I moved to Florida, I realized that I wanted something else in life. Like, I didn't want to continue to not be who I was. I knew after being in a long-term lesbian relationship that, okay, this is who I am. And, you know, it's really not going to change, and it's not a phase. And so I want to start being out. So on the advice of some people that I moved in with, they told me that I should come out as a bisexual first. They said it's easier to come out as being bisexual. More people will accept you, which I found to be true, which is sad now looking back, being a lesbian, being an out lesbian, that more people will accept you being bisexual. I guess maybe because it feeds into the it's a phase type thing, but it's neither here nor there. So I came out and I was like, but I'm not really bi because I'm not with men. So it didn't make any sense. So eventually I just stopped telling people that I was bi. And when I got comfortable with myself, and I was just like, okay, yes, I'm a lesbian. So my mom doesn't know anything about any of this. When I was in Florida, my cover boyfriend was still my cover boyfriend, and she had no clue. And so I got to the point where I was tired of lying to her because she wanted to meet this person, and you know, because I was dating at the time. I was dating somebody else, and I didn't want my mom to keep asking about this person. So what I did is, the way that I would refer to this person is, her name was really, it wasn't actually really similar to a male name at all. It was a very, very feminine name, but I found a male name that fit. It was like the same first initial and had like the same rhyming scheme, I guess, for their names. And that's what I would call her. I would call her a male name whenever my mom would ask about this person that I was dating. And one day, I don't know what the hell came over me. I was driving. I'll never forget the day I came out to my mom. I was driving down the street. I was going somewhere, and mom asked about my boyfriend that she thought at the time. And I said, Mom, I have something to tell you. And she's like, what? And I said, so-and-so's name isn't this, it's that. And she's like, what do you mean? So I guess for an example, because I haven't gotten their consent, so I don't want to say their name on camera, but it would be like, say that her name was Rebecca and I was calling her Robert instead. So I said, Mom, Robert's name isn't really Robert, it's Rebecca. That's the example. And my mom was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm dating a woman. I've been dating a woman for a while. I dated a woman before her. And my mom went clean off. When I tell you, I if I would have been close to her, she probably would have reached out and touched me. Yeah. Uh, she started spitting off all kinds of Bible verses, and I can't believe it. You're the devil. You're going to hell. Blah 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 blah. It was a nightmare. Let me tell you, a nightmare. My mom and I's relationship deteriorated from that point. She, used every awful thing that she could possibly say to me. She said it. She was so rude and nasty to my girlfriend at the time. And I just was like, okay, we can't have a relationship. We can't have a friendship. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. So my mom and I didn't talk for 2 years after I came out. And it was rough because my mom is like my best friend, other than my, technical best friend Keisha. My mom is also my best friend. And so it was hard, and those 2 years were really, really difficult because I didn't talk to her. We were very estranged. My dad was the go-between, but for the family, like if I needed to pass any messages along, he would tell her. And like I said, it was rough. And so my dad was actually really okay with it. He, said, you love who you love and whatever. But my dad would ask really, like, I felt like they were inappropriate questions. But he claimed that he was just learning, and he would like ask lesbians in the street about, like, were you not loved? Did you get molested? The stupid straight people questions that are asked of gay people. And he came to this understanding, so he says. And just accepted me. He, used to take me and when we would come up from Florida to Georgia and hang out in the city, we would go and have dinner with my dad, and it was all good. Eventually, I don't know what changed, but eventually my mom came around, and my mom came around in a huge way. She had a complete and total 180. My mom went from spitting Bible verses and telling me that I was going to be condemned to hell and all kinds of other stuff, to loving my wife 100%, loving my daughter, not saying anything, and actually being like a bit of a gay rights activist. Like, I'm actually shocked. Now, I will also say this, that my mother has 2 gay children. My brother is gay. And he came out way before I did, which was another reason why I never had any intention of coming out. And I didn't, I said, this cannot be life, because he came out when he was 14. He might have been a little bit younger than that. And my mom sent him to counseling at the church as well, and told him that she would cut him off if he ever came out. Like, when I came out, she told him that if he ever decided that he wanted to come out, because everybody knew my brother was gay, but my mom was completely in denial about this. She told him if he ever came out, she would cut him off financially. And that was the end of that. Like, that was the nail in the coffin. So it was hard. It was hard coming out, not having my mom support me. And so I had to make my own family. Like, my best friend Keisha, that I talk about all the time, her and her wife were there for me, and they became my new family. And I started to build other people into my life and made them family, because I came to the conclusion that blood is not always what makes you a family. Family can treat you like shit, excuse my language, but they can. And they can disown you, and they can not love you unconditionally. And you find these friends, and they become closer than blood relatives are. So that was what happened eventually. Like I said, my mom came around, and for everyone who was in my room at my wedding, it brought tears to everyone's eyes to have my mom get up and do her wedding speech, because my mom has just made such a significant change in who she is and her beliefs. And she doesn't play now. She doesn't let people just call people dykes or fags or whatever. Like, she doesn't play that. She stands up for the fact that she has two gay children and she is so proud of them, and that being a lesbian is not just, or being a lesbian or being gay just happens to be what her children are. It's not completely made their entire identity, and she will be quick to tell anybody that. And to this day, if you say something bad about me, if you say something bad about Krista, my mom will go off. She doesn't play that. So, that's my coming out story. It was hard. I had a lot of discrimination when I came out in my when I was in school for college. When I was working on my master's, people didn't want anything to do with me when they found out that I was a lesbian, and that hurts. But life goes on, and I'm so happy that I came out of that closet. You could not put me back in that closet, even if you tried. I'm proud to be who I am. And, Krista and I have cut a lot of people out of our lives because they don't love us for who we are. And, it hurts and it's sad. But at the end of the day, I'd rather have a small circle of people who love and support me unconditionally than to have a huge circle of people who don't want anything to do with me. They don't want to stand up for my rights. They aren't advocating for me. They're not my allies. And that's who was in our lives. That's who will be in our daughters' lives. And those are the people you have to depend on, because coming out is hard. And it's, I can't imagine being these young kids coming up and coming out and, being in middle school and high school and getting bullied, and the things that people say, all the debate about gay marriage on TV and what people say about gay and lesbian people. It kills me. It hurts, but I would never go back in the closet. It just makes me want to fight harder to prove that gay people are people. We're people. We bleed just like everybody else. We hurt just like everybody else. We cry just like everybody else. So when people go on this rampage about how their religious beliefs make people less than, it hurts. But hey, like Lady Gaga said, I was born this way and I will continue to be this way. This is not a phase. I love my life and I love me, and I just happen to be a lesbian. But at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, I wake up, I go to sleep, and live my life as Marquita first, as an African American female second, and as a lesbian third. Those are my identities. They all mesh in together, and I can't have one without the other. So that's my coming out story. It's the short, condensed version because there's a whole lot of other stuff, turmoil, anger, stuff like that in my coming out story. And yeah, that is my coming out story. So if anybody else has their coming out stories or have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. And thanks so much for listening and watching. Bye.